Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of Ask the Trainer show. Starring Kuma. Can you guys believe how big he's getting? He's 5 months old now. Oh my goodness. Say hi, Kuma. Say hi, Kuma. He's huge. He's like 45 pounds now. Good boy. And he's doing well. He's had a couple flare-ups last week when we were out of town, but they were pretty small. His fever didn't get as high as it usually does. And in between his little fevers, he's just doing so well. Aren't you? Look at him. He's such a little piggy. Good boy, Kuma. Yes, he's doing really well with his crate training. He's doing a lot better at not barking at strangers, too. Well, actually, he's still barking at strangers right away, but I'm able to stop him from it pretty fast. Oops, don't fall off. So the next step is going to be stopping that barking completely, which I have been doing some videos on all of this for you guys that I'm going to have on YouTube because I know I've gotten a lot of DMs about that. Oh, you're so cute. Look at his paws. Can you see his paw? It's so big. Everyone always comments on that. You're the cutest. Okay, last one. And then I'm going to start with the questions. So I've gotten so many questions the last couple weeks, DMs, all kinds of new people, I think, new followers reaching out. So I'm going to answer. Oh, are you done? You want to get down? What do you think? I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions today. So are we ready? All right, let's do it.
Okay, first question is from Sheila, and Sheila says, we have a 4-month-old puppy and I've been following your 5 golden rules. She's mostly very good, but a few times a day she starts biting, like to the point of ripping our clothes, barking and jumping or running away like a mad woman. I've tried ignoring her, but she does rip our clothes and hurt, and I don't want her to do that to others. What do I do when she's truly misbehaving?
All right, so I think a lot of people get confused between what is normal puppy biting and what is excessive and very inappropriate puppy biting. So I think that excessive puppy biting where it's really an issue would be one, when the puppy basically gets the zoomies and is running all over, just total loss of self-control and lunging at people. Anytime a dog is biting clothes or constantly going back at you, it's definitely excessive puppy biting. I would say normal puppy mouthing would kind of be if you're holding the puppy, and Kuma doesn't mouth at all. But he's just kind of mouthing at your hand right here, and not biting down, controlling the force behind the bite a little bit. But this is probably one of the most common questions that I receive is what to do with the puppy biting. And I always, my golden rule is that redirection is key to shaping behavior, first of all. So you have to kind of figure out why the dog is biting. So is he just pretty relaxed like this and needs something to chew on because he has that need to chew? He's teething. If that's the case, redirect him to his toy. If it's just a total loss of, self-control, the puppy just has so much energy, then I would say let's redirect him to getting exercise. If you're just going crazy, you want to zoom around, let's go zoom around outside. Let's go on a walk to exert the energy that way. But I do say also that sometimes redirection isn't enough. So if redirection isn't enough, if you have a very stubborn puppy that it's like, okay, don't chew on me, chew on this toy, and you have to redirect 3 times, then that means that the environment that the puppy is in is too overstimulating for him to control himself. So basically what I'm saying is like 3 strikes and you're out kind of rule. So I've seen this with like my clients, and it's like nails on chalkboard to me, where the puppy's in the lap, the dog is just like chewing on the owner's hands, and the owner is like, no, 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 don't do that, and continues to just have their hand right there and let the puppy do it. Well, there's no meaning behind a no. Like, if my parents would have just scolded me and told me, no, don't do that, you know, whenever I was in trouble, instead of grounding me, there's no way I would have listened to that. So there's nothing behind the no. So the best thing that you can do is remove yourself from the situation. So let the dog know that if you're going to act like that towards me, you don't get my attention, you don't get me as a playmate. So what I usually do is after 3 times, I'm like, okay, clearly you're not understanding because this environment's too overstimulating, so let's go take a break in the crate. This is where I get so many questions about, oh my gosh, I don't want my dog to be scarred from the crate though. And neither do I, because you guys all know I'm such a huge advocate of the crate and making the crate a positive place. And it's all about how you put the dog into the crate. So you might want to say, get your butt in the crate in a really mean way because you're super frustrated after 3 times of redirection at that point. But you just have to take a breath, pick the dog up or grab the dog by the collar, you know, and just direct him into the crate. Or if you have a crate command, even better. And put the dog in the crate with a chewing object, you know, so he can exert his energy that way. So it's totally fine to use the crate as a means of like, okay, you are kind of just you're too much right now. You're not controlling yourself. You're not settling yourself down. So here I'm going to basically force you to have self-control in here. And that way also you're removing yourself from the situation. So you can also, instead of using the crate, you can put the dog outside into a different room, things like that. The only hesitancy I have about that is like if the dog is already wild, he might get really mad that you are removing yourself from, you know, being his playmate. So he might start digging in the yard or chewing on whatever he can get to. And putting him in the crate, you know, as you know, is just a really good for all over behavior. It makes them settle their mind down, makes them relax. And I think that's really good for them. So never be hesitant to do that. I mean, and sometimes with, you know, my foster puppies, I do even less than 3 strikes because I think that biting human clothes or human skin is absolutely not acceptable. And I think the more strict you are from the start with that, the more effective it is. So don't be afraid to be strict about that. What's appropriate to bite on and what's not. Okay, that should help. I know I went off in all kinds of directions with that, but that should be helpful.
Okay,
you want a
awesome.
treat? You're being
Next
so good.
question comes from Brian, and Brian asks, my dog barks at literally anything, and we have tried giving her treats when she's not barking and punishing her when she does, and it works for a day or 2, but after that she barks again to every person walking around outside, and sometimes only to dogs. Do you have any advice?
Yes, I certainly do, because I am having the same issue with Kuma here. So Kuma, it sounds like the same thing. It's kind of like the stranger danger barking. It's like just a protective instinct that some dogs have to bark. Number 1, what you're doing right is praising the dog when she's not barking. What you're doing wrong is scolding the dog when she does bark. You know, my just philosophy with positive reinforcement training is that the redirection is key to shaping behavior. So behind every single bad behavior, there's a reason behind it. The only way you're going to solve a behavior is if you stop, instead of just saying, no, don't do that, you stop and think about, why is my dog exhibiting this behavior? And what would I rather have her do when she feels this way? So why is she barking? Because she's, you know, has a protective instinct, something's threatening, maybe she's excited. There's different kinds of reasons why. So you have to think about your individual dog. So for Kuma, he just has a naturally protective instinct, which Akitas do. They have a protective instinct against strangers. So that's why socialization is so important for this breed. So what you want to do when she's barking, or if she's about to bark, you know, a lot of people catch it too late. So they're like, okay, let's just see what she does with this person. Don't even give her the opportunity to bark. So if you see somebody walking or you see her perk her little ears up at somebody, grab her with a treat. Kuma! Grab her with a treat immediately. So let's say Kuma's perking up at somebody over there. Make him perk up. Kuma! I would literally put the treat on his nose and direct him over here. And if you think that she's going to go back to that person while they're walking by, I would literally just feed him the treat this entire time. Hi, good boy. Yes. Oh, good. Don't even worry about that person that's over there. When you feel like you want to bark at that person, just look to me instead. Yes, yes, yes. Again, what I always say is to fix any behavior, you have to get to the point where it's not happening at all first before you can give away any freedom. Hi, Jack. You want some too? Okay. So what I mean by that, and a lot of people are like, well, you're just feeding him a treat, you know, he's not doing anything. I'm getting to the point where he's not barking at people at all because I'm literally not letting him. I have 100% focus here. Once I have that consistently, then I would let his mind go a little bit. I would try to just hold maybe a treat up. Oh, Kuma, look at me. Don't even bark at that person. Hi, yes. Oh, good. Hold a treat up here. Yes. Oh, here. Yes. Don't even look back at that person. Good. Yes. Yes. This is literally exactly what I do and what I sound like at my training sessions. Oh, yes. Look at me. Oh, who cares about that person there? Good job. Yes. To try to curb that. So with barking, it kind of depends. If you're okay with a couple barks, you can let them perk up, figure out the person on their own, and then call them back after, like a couple barks if you want that alertness. But if you want to get rid of it entirely, which I do for Kuma when we're out on walks, in the house, I don't care if he gives like a couple barks to let me know that someone's here. But outside on walks, if he's on his harness and everything, I don't want him barking at anybody, and I know that if, people worry about a protective instinct going away entirely, and that's not going to happen. If you really were in danger, your dog is still that protective instinct is going to overpower anything that you've done, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you do want to curb that entirely, you have to grab his focus and don't even give him the opportunity. What are you doing, Jack? What's he doing? Why are you looking at? Don't even give him the opportunity to bark. So grab her right before she does. I think people usually just give too much mental freedom in the beginning, and you have to give 0 and then gradually increase the mental freedom that way.
Okay, great. So next question is from Hannah. And Hannah says, Dear Kaelin, I have a puppy and we want him to stop jumping on the table when there is food. How should I train him to stop doing this? We have been crate training and it's been very successful so far, almost 5 months old and no accidents in the house. My question is, do we continue this mentality of him spending most of his day in the crate as an adult dog, or do we start to ease off the amount of time spent in the crate? He's totally happy, just want to be sure we are not overusing it also. Your book and videos are a lifesaver. Thank you so much.
Wait, was there 2 questions in that one? Like the beginning was about, right?
So the first one is about how do you train the puppy to stop jumping on the table when there's food? And then the second question is about the crate. Yeah, the crate. So I'm going to do the crate one first, just so I don't forget. So it's really amazing if you're in exactly kind of what I was just saying with freedom. Is that first you have to get to the point where it's not happening. So this owner is at the point where there's no accidents, there's no destruction of things because she's followed my advice and been very structured about the crate, which is exactly what you want. Once you're at that point, you can slowly introduce freedom. So it works the same way like I was just talking about with mental freedom. Hi. Want a little break? I think he wants to get down. So it works the same way with just freedom in general. Like once you're at the point where there's no behavioral issues, nothing happening, you can gradually introduce more and more freedom out of the crate. So it just kind of depends on how much the dog is in the crate. So maybe start introducing freedom when you take a shower if you don't go out to the mailbox.
a 10-minute errand, gradually increase that way. And if he does great with the 10, 15-minute errands, then you can increase to a half hour. It's just whatever rate works best for you. But I can't stress enough to not be afraid to go backwards if you need to. So if, you get to the point where you're letting the dog be alone for 2 hours, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I have these 2 hours now, he did great, and then all of a sudden he starts chewing on the couch. Don't be afraid to go backwards then. Okay, back to the crate. You don't get any freedom being alone. Typically with a puppy, once you go backwards once, the dog learns. They're like, okay, I tried to test you. I tried to take advantage of that freedom once. I get it. I don't get freedom if I do that, and you won't have to go backwards again. But some dogs, you might have to go backwards multiple times. So just don't be afraid to go backwards and forwards. I think so many people, once they get to that point where it's like, okay, we did the crate, now you're an awesome dog, let's sell the crate, wind up having this kind of that testing phase with the dogs, and then they're in trouble. When they get rid of the crate, there's no structure, boundaries. It's where the training sinks. It's actually what I just posted, my latest post on Instagram. I just posted all about the testing phase and all of that. So check that out. But yeah, that's totally fine to introduce freedom. I need a water. Sorry, guys. Hi, Jack. This is Jack. He's a 10-month-old Bernedoodle. And he's boarding with me for like 3 weeks while his family's in Bali. He's so clumsy, though. I'm like afraid he's going to knock down everything. What's on your back? Thank you. Hi, Kuma. Okay, so then as far as the not jumping up on the table, what you can do is, same thing like I always say. If you're going to say no, don't jump on the table, you have to think about, why is the dog jumping up on the table? Because he wants the food, of course. So how would you rather have him tell you that he wants the food? Jack. You would rather have him just sit in front of the table, or better yet, not beg, of course, and go sit on his bed over there or in his crate, whatever. So you can tell him no, then give him a command like sit or go to your bed. And this takes repetition, repetition, repetition. Go to your bed, go to your bed, go to your bed commands till the dog actually clicks, where you want him to go and everything. So it's just all about redirecting him to what you do want him to do. Obviously, if he's just jumping up constantly, it's totally fine to put him in the crate. Again, get to that point where the issue isn't happening at all first. So, okay, he's in the crate. It's not happening because it's so controlled. You have him under strict control. He has no access there. Then gradually increase freedom. Okay, now we'll try the bed. So that's, half of you telling him what to do, half him controlling himself. And try that way.
Okay. So next question is going to be, is it bad to have the crate in one place during the day and another at night?
No, it's not. I say if you can to try to keep it in one place, but it's definitely not bad, and I have tons and tons of clients that keep it in 2 different places. I think it's best to try to have that one place so the dog always knows where it is, so you can teach the command like go to your crate and it doesn't get confusing. But just for like behavior wise and for the crate aspect, it's totally fine to have 2 different crates or a crate in different areas. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And next question is, how often do I need to take a puppy out for potty during the night and while sleeping?
I would say every single puppy is different on how long they can control their bladder for, and it depends on the age. So during the night, I would say you can expect for an 8-week-old puppy to have to go out like 3 to 4 times in the beginning. Then once you hit like the 12-week mark, I would say it would be like once or twice a night. What I usually do is have the dog first sleep with me in the room just to kind of see, is this a dog who's going to hold it all night? Sometimes I get a like amazing little angel foster puppy that holds it all night. I don't ever set alarms or anything. I let the dogs tell me when they have to go out. I do cut off food and water at like 7, you know, we'll feed dinner earlier, and then cut off water at like 7 o'clock. And that's totally fine to do. That helps dogs hold it longer. But one thing to always know about the crate, you know, at night is you should definitely, if you're not going to set the alarm, you should have the puppy's crate where you can hear the puppy crying. If a puppy settles himself or herself down at night and is totally fine for, you know, a little while, goes to sleep, when the dog does wake up in the middle of the night and is crying, it's because he or she needs to go outside and go potty. So you do want to pay attention to those cries. And the longer that you're with that dog, the more you'll be able to decipher what's a, I just want to get out of the crate cry and what's a, I have to go to the bathroom cry. So I get every single dog is different, but in the beginning, expect to be up, you know, you might be up 4 times in the night, or maybe none.
Okay, so next question is from E. Howard Lee. She asks, what is the best way to start socializing a 2-year-old dog that hasn't been socialized enough? He displays a lot of anxiety at the sight of other dogs.
So the best way to socialize a dog, I get this question a lot, and I think a lot of people have a misconception about what socialization really means. It does not have to mean that the dog gets nose to nose. This is something that is so huge, and it's the only way that I work through like aggression or reactivity in dogs is progressing at the dog's comfort level. So a good way to introduce the dog is to find a stationary dog. And that doesn't have to mean that a dog isn't moving, although that's what I do in my training sessions. I bring Grizzly or Juno and make them be completely still and stationary, so that the dog who's weary of other dogs, Jack, leave it. Yes, good. Jack's trying to eat the wires down here. So that the dog, where was I going? Okay, so if you can have a stationary dog that just sits there and chills, it's amazing, because then the dog can actually work through just the dog piece, because when you have a moving dog out on a walk, it's double as threatening. It's that dog aspect that the dog's not comfortable with, and then it's the movement of the dog or a barking from the dog makes it double as scary. But I know that in reality, you're not going to find that often. So I always say to find a stationary dog where you can control the distance up to the dog. So a dog park is great, like a low-key dog park that's fenced in with a chain link fence. Or in your neighborhood, if there's, you know, that house that you know there's a dog down the street behind a fence, that's great to work up to. So what I usually do is have the dog just focus on me as much as possible, because what you have to do to desensitize a dog is actually take that sight off of the dog, you know, that dog behind the fence that they're scared of, and shift it to you, so that you let the dog know whenever you're feeling uncomfortable, look to me, look to me, look to me. It's the only way to desensitize a dog. So what I would do is find that distance where you can half get your dog's focus. You know, he's intent on that dog behind the fence, but if you're calling his name, he's still responding to you. And move that to where you have 100% of the focus. The only way to move that is time. You keep redirecting him. Are you guys playing? Look. You keep redirecting his focus back to you, make him sit down, make his mind work, doing different things. Once you have the problem of too much focus on you, then you can start to move forward, forward, forward. So the whole process of desensitization and counter conditioning is finding that spot. Oh goodness, you guys, what are you doing down here? I told you Jack's so clumsy. He has no idea how big he is. Jack. Careful, Jack, okay? Why don't you go over by Celine? Here, Jack. Call him.
Jack, come on.
Good boy. Here.
Good boy. Jack.
Look, Celine has it.
Look what I got. Look what I got.
Okay, so find that spot. It's all about finding that spot where the dog isn't too stressed out, but you are pushing him past his comfort zone. So I hope that makes sense. It's so difficult whenever I try to explain how I go through the desensitization and conditioning process with people, because I do it so much with my clients, but it's really hard to describe, you know, when a dog is ready to go move forward. But I think the best piece of advice is just start at that distance and try to keep redirecting the dog back to you, back to you, back to you, so that he's not focused in and thinking negative thoughts about those other dogs. And then slowly, gradually work up closer, closer, closer. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Trainer. I think I'll probably record some of Jack's training sessions this week too, so you guys can see the progress that we make with him as well. But thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. And feel free to start DMing me your questions for next week's episode. All right, bye.